The Bold and the Beautiful. A runway collapse, a scandal explodes, and Forrester Creations faces its most dangerous sabotage, yet the lights were blinding. The music pulsed. The crowd buzzed with anticipation. Forrester Creations had pulled every string, tapped every connection, and bet the brand's reputation on one show. One single runway event meant to silence the scandals, reshape the narrative, and remind the fashion world why the Forrester name still carried weight. But in The Bold and the Beautiful, nothing stays perfect for long. And as the final model stepped onto the stage, a breathtaking finale turned into a corporate catastrophe. She stumbled, swayed, and collapsed in full view of the audience. Gasps filled the air. Cameras kept rolling. And in that one terrifying moment, what was supposed to be a triumphant comeback became the epicenter of a new and darker mystery. Just hours before the show, tensions had already been boiling over. Steffi Forrester, newly returned and determined to reclaim order, had taken over executive control of the event. The company had suffered blow after blow, from media fallout tied to Luna Nozawa's pregnancy and the Spencer scandals, to whispers of internal discontent and dangerous power plays. The runway show wasn't just a PR opportunity. It was a lifeline. Steffi had made the stakes clear. Image was everything, and this event could not fail. But not everyone agreed with her vision. Brooke Logan and Hope Logan, never ones to stand quietly on the sidelines, demanded their say. With hope for the future still reeling from scandal associations and investor doubt, both women insisted on final control over the lineup, claiming they needed to guarantee that the show would reflect fresh, empowering femininity. Translation: they wanted Hope front and center in the finale slot. Steffi resisted. Brooke pushed harder. The boardroom turned into a battlefield, and after hours of back and forth, a shaky compromise was reached. Steffi would keep full creative direction, but Hope's segment would close the show. It was a fragile truce, held together by shared desperation and too many flashbulbs already focused on the venue. Backstage, the show buzzed with high pressure and silent panic. Designers adjusted sleeves. Models rehearsed their walks. Assistants double-checked every light, every track, every cue. In the chaos, no one noticed the pill bottle sitting in the dressing room of Forrester's lead model, a bottle labeled with a Forrester family trusted clinic, Dr. John Finnegan's. Sheila Carter, recently lurking back into the public consciousness, had long kept one foot in the shadows and one hand near any medical trail that could be turned into leverage. And Dr. Lee Finnegan, Finn's adoptive mother, with her own rigid views and strained ethics, had enemies growing by the day. No one wanted to believe either woman would sabotage a medical prescription, but as the show climaxed and disaster struck, the questions began immediately. The model didn't just faint. She seized. Her skin flashed, then paled. EMTs rushed in as screams erupted from the front row. Phones recorded every second. And within minutes, the show stopped cold. What had been a hopeful resurrection for Forrester Creations was now trending under hashtags like Forrester Fail and Runway Collapse. Paparazzi swarmed the exits. Journalists demanded statements, and the backstage environment turned to ice. Within the hour, hospital reports confirmed what no one wanted to hear. The medication the model took before the show had been tampered with. Prescribed originally for mild anxiety enough to manage nerves, not sedate, the dosage was not only dangerously high, but altered. A sedative was added, and the pill compound didn't match Finn's records. Somewhere between his office and the model's hands, the medication had been switched. And just like that, suspicion exploded. Finn was devastated, professionally humiliated, personally blindsided. The media leapt at the angle. Doctor to Forrester star gave lethal dose, sabotage, or malpractice. For a man already walking a tightrope between hospital duties, family loyalty, and the fallout of the Luna situation, this was a nuclear hit. But Finn, always methodical, immediately reviewed his records. The prescription file was clean. The bottle wasn't the one dispensed from his clinic, which meant one thing: this was sabotage. And two names floated instantly to the surface: Lee and Sheila. Lee, who still operated with clinical privileges in certain satellite practices, had both the access and the motive. She never approved of the Forrester spotlight and had made her feelings about weakness and emotional instability in the public eye very clear. She was methodical, judgmental, and coldly capable of protecting the family name by any means necessary. Sheila, unpredictable and ever-looming, had less clinical access but far more incentive. Chaos was her currency. If she could destabilize Finn's credibility, widen the rift between him and Steffi, and further entangle herself in any power vacuum that opened, she would. She always did. The board at Forrester Creations demanded answers. Investors panicked. Press inquiries tripled. Steffi launched an internal review, calling in security footage, background checks on staff, and full cooperation with the police. Carter was tasked with managing the legal shield, while Ridge was forced to answer difficult questions about whether the company had neglected to screen suppliers or verify staff credentials. Hope and Brooke tried to pivot the disaster as a tragic medical episode, but even their PR finesse couldn't spin the optics. Someone had poisoned a runway model during a live broadcast. That wasn't a malfunction, that was warfare. The next morning, the story deepened. A silent informant, allegedly connected to a temp nurse employed by one of Lee's clinics, contacted the hospital's HR department with a disturbing detail. A patient record had been accessed and edited 2 days before the show a breach. That access point, logged in from a workstation registered under Lee's admin credentials. But it wasn't proof. Not yet. And with Sheila now publicly denying involvement while smiling her signature smile at reporters and claiming she was just relieved the young woman was okay, the media began circling both women like sharks. Finn begged Steffi to trust him to let him lead the investigation on the medical side while she handled the fashion house fallout. But Steffi's patience was already threadbare. The scandal had touched every nerve: brand trust, family reputation, public safety, and most importantly, control. This wasn't just about who tampered with pills. It was about who now controlled the narrative. And for a woman who had fought her way back to the top of Forrester Creations, Steffi wasn't about to let anyone, not Finn, not Hope, not even Ridge, define the next chapter for her. Meanwhile, Bill Spencer, watching from the sidelines with vindictive satisfaction, saw an opportunity forming. Forrester's chaos could become his leverage. With Luna out of commission and Will in a shaky legal marriage, Bill had time. Time to rebuild, to manipulate, and now perhaps to offer support to Forrester clients eager to distance themselves from a fashion house under medical scrutiny. He made quiet calls, whispered to a few journalists. His fingerprints weren't obvious, but his intent was. If Forrester fell, he would be waiting to claim the spoils. Back in the hospital, the model finally regained consciousness. Disoriented, weak, but coherent. Her first words were not about the show but the pills. They didn't smell right, she whispered to Finn. They were bitter different, and just like that, the case opened wider. Now, the hunt for truth intensifies. The prescription bottle has been taken in for forensic testing. Fingerprints are being analyzed. Staff are being questioned. The list of suspects is growing, and with each day, the lines between medicine, fashion, and vengeance blur even further. Forrester Creations may have survived scandals before, but this is different. This isn't just tabloid drama or boardroom betrayal. This is attempted murder, laced with designer perfume and front row seats. And unless Steffi, Finn, and the entire team can untangle the conspiracy fast, they risk losing not just their careers, but their legacy. Because in The Bold and the Beautiful, sabotage doesn't stop at scandal. It ends in war. And the next collapse might not be on the runway. It might be the family itself. The Bold and the Beautiful, Katie stand a legal strike, a broken bond, and the beginning of a new war at Spencer Publications in a world where power is everything and alliances are constantly shifting. The Bold and the Beautiful now places one woman at the center of a storm that could shatter reputations, destroy relationships, and expose the darkest truths behind the Spencer empire. Katie Logan has long played the role of peacekeeper, the measured voice, the careful mediator, the one who tempers Bill Spencer's volcanic fury. But not this time. Not now. Not when a pregnant young woman is in danger, and the father of her child is aiming to erase her from existence. Bill Spencer crossed a line. Not metaphorically, not emotionally, literally. When he set in motion a brutal plan to deal with Luna Nozo, a woman already physically and emotionally shattered, Katie saw the final crack in the man she once loved. This wasn't about corporate strategy or family image. This was about cruelty. This was about control. And Katie refused to be complicit. The moment she learned of Bill's threats against Luna, Katie stepped in not with pleas or compromise, but with action. She made herself the adult in the room, the one person willing to draw a hard boundary in a world built on blurred lines. And that choice has sparked a war with consequences no one, not even Katie, can fully contain. At first, Bill tried to dismiss it. He brushed off Katie's concern as overreaction, claimed Luna was a manipulator, exploiting Will, using her pregnancy as leverage. He denied involvement in the attack. He denied any intent to harm. But Katie had already seen the reports. She'd heard the rumors. She'd read the medical transcripts. She knew about the assault, the burner phone, the threats recorded in Luna's hospital room, and the man arrested for the hit, a man with financial ties to Bill Spencer's shell corporations. The facts spoke louder than Bill's denials. Then came the twist Katie never expected, the confirmation. Luna is pregnant, and the implications are explosive. Whether the child belongs to Will Spencer or someone else, the baby is now at the center of a storm involving bloodlines, wealth, and control. Katie knew immediately that this wasn't just a scandal, it was a battlefield. And Luna, frightened, exhausted, and still recovering from trauma, couldn't face it alone. So Katie did the unthinkable. She offered herself as Luna's legal guardian and, if necessary, the legal guardian of the unborn child as well. It wasn't a bluff. It wasn't symbolic. Katie took legal action. A petition was quietly filed in family court, requesting emergency protective guardianship over both mother and child. The argument that Luna, under current physical and emotional duress, required court-recognized support from a non-biased adult with legal authority to act in the child's best interest. A petition like that, especially when backed by medical reports, police records, and potential witness statements, couldn't be ignored. Bill found out the way he finds out everything, through back channels. But by the time his legal team got wind of it, it was too late. The process had already started. And what followed next was the first public explosion. A letter from Katie's attorney delivered directly to Spencer Publications. The document wasn't subtle. It included official notice of the guardianship petition, a cease and desist order forbidding Bill or any of his representatives from making direct or indirect contact with Luna or interfering with her medical care, and a formal request that all Spencer-owned media outlets refrain from publishing any defamatory stories about Luna or the pregnancy. It was signed, sealed, served. It landed on Bill's desk like a grenade. The walls of Spencer Publications rattled as Bill erupted. To him, this wasn't just betrayal. This was war, a legal ambush, orchestrated by the mother of his child, aimed squarely at dismantling his credibility and undermining his authority. He stormed out of his office, vowing to retaliate, slamming doors and barking orders to his legal team to bury Katie in court. But deep down, he knew he was losing grip. Katie's decision wasn't emotional. It was calculated. She knew the moment that letter landed, it would trigger a public reckoning. And she was ready for it. For the first time, the Spencer name wasn't a shield, it was a spotlight. Every board member, every executive, every advertiser, every journalist, every stakeholder attached to the company would be forced to ask the same question. What kind of man orders an attack on a pregnant woman? What kind of legacy leaves blood on its name? Katie knew the backlash was coming. She braced for it. She made calls, quietly reached out to her contacts in the media, to advocacy groups, to women's rights attorneys. She didn't frame it as a personal vendetta, she framed it as protection, as justice, as accountability for someone who thought he was untouchable. But this wasn't just about legal guardianship anymore. This was about the cost of standing up. Her relationship with Bill shattered irreparably. There was no going back, no healing words, no shared past strong enough to close this chasm. Bill saw it as betrayal. Katie saw it as necessity. She had watched him twist his influence for too long to control narratives, manipulate lives, silence dissent. This time, she put herself between the monster and the girl he wanted to disappear. And she knew it would cost her everything. The ripple effects began immediately. Bill's public relations team scrambled to contain the story. Statements were drafted, then scrapped. Rumors leaked at Spencer Publications might be under federal investigation. Luna's name trended online not as a scandal, but as a victim with unexpected allies. Advocacy groups issued statements of support. Celebrities tweeted in solidarity. Suddenly, Bill wasn't feared, he was scrutinized. At the same time, Will Spencer remained silent. His father's rage, his new wife's trauma, his own confusion, it all crashed in on him. And now, with Katie claiming legal guardianship, Will was caught between the parent he loved and the parent he feared. His silence only made the situation more volatile. Rumors swirled. Would he support Katie's claim? Would he testify against his father? Would he file his own injunction? Carter Walton, still legally tied to the initial marriage contract between Will and Luna, began drafting contingencies in case Bill tried to nullify the union. The legal battlefield was shifting daily. Lines were redrawn. Allegiances changed. And Katie stood firm through it all. She visited Luna daily, reassured her, advocated for her, protected her. She coordinated with Finn, with Steffi, with hospital security. She prepared for depositions, subpoenas, hearings. And every time Bill tried to strike through lawyers, through media, through intimidation, Katie struck back harder. This isn't over. Bill is too powerful, too angry, too consumed by pride to walk away quietly. He's plotting, gathering dirt, looking for weaknesses. If he can't destroy Katie in court, he'll try to destroy her publicly. Leak old secrets, twist her past, spin stories that frame her as unstable, vindictive, power-hungry. But Katie knows who she is now. She's not the woman waiting for Bill to choose her. She's not the passive player in someone else's empire. She's the one who drew the line and then crossed it with her head held high. What comes next will be brutal. Court dates, headlines, tears, betrayals. Will may have to testify. Luna may be forced to recount her trauma. Katie may lose friends, influence, even custody battles of her own. But she's made peace with it. Because this war isn't about revenge. It's about accountability. And in the bold and the beautiful, sometimes the boldest thing a woman can do is stand up and say no more. Bill Spencer wanted control. Katie Logan gave him consequences, and the battle has only just begun.